Imagine a life where your thoughts shape your reality, where every moment is infused with positivity and purpose. In Buddhism, the power of positive thinking isn't just a concept, it's a transformative practice that leads to profound inner peace and happiness. Discover how ancient teachings guide us to cultivate joy, compassion and resilience, enabling us to face life's challenges with a serene mind. Embark on this journey to unlock the secrets of a fulfilling life through the art of positive thinking in Buddhism. The foundation of positive thinking in Buddhism teaches that our thoughts shape our reality. The way we perceive the world determines how we experience it, and the mind is the key to unlocking true happiness. But how does Buddhism define positive thinking? It's not about forcing ourselves to be happy all the time or ignoring difficulties. It's about training the mind to see reality clearly, without attachment or aversion, and cultivating an inner state of peace and contentment. At the heart of this practice is the understanding of karma and mental conditioning. Every thought we entertain plants a seed in our consciousness, which will eventually bear fruit in our actions and emotions. If we constantly dwell on negativity, resentment or fear, these states will become habitual. But if we consciously cultivate gratitude, compassion and wisdom, our mind will naturally incline toward positivity. The Buddha himself emphasized the importance of right thought, one of the key elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right thought means directing our minds toward kindness, selflessness and wisdom. When we let go of self-centered worries and embrace a broader perspective, we begin to see the world differently, not as a place full of threats, but as a space of interconnectedness and potential. One powerful way to lay the foundation for positive thinking is through the practice of mindfulness sati. Mindfulness allows us to become aware of our mental patterns and gently redirect them. Instead of being trapped in cycles of worry or negativity, we learn to observe thoughts as they arise and let them go, choosing to focus on those that uplift and support us. Another essential aspect is meditation, pavana, which literally means mental cultivation. By practicing loving-kindness meditation, metta, we train ourselves to generate goodwill toward ourselves and others. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, but rather approaching them with a mind that is balanced and kind, rather than reactive and fearful. A simple yet profound teaching in Buddhism is, with our thoughts, we make the world. This means that if we nurture a mind filled with gratitude, patience and wisdom, we create a life that reflects these qualities. The external world may be unpredictable, but our inner world is within our control. Ultimately, the foundation of positive thinking in Buddhism is not about denying reality, but about seeing it with clarity and responding skillfully. By developing awareness, practicing gratitude, and choosing thoughts that lead to peace and kindness, we reshape our experience of life itself. Cultivating mindfulness for a positive mindset. Mindfulness is the key to transforming our thoughts and emotions. In Buddhism, it is known as sati, a fundamental practice that allows us to see reality as it is, without being overwhelmed by negative emotions or automatic reactions. But how does mindfulness help us cultivate a positive mindset? The answer lies in awareness. When we become conscious of our mental habits, we gain the power to change them. Most of our suffering comes from the mind's tendency to dwell on the past or worry about the future. We replay old regrets or anxieties, reinforcing negative patterns that cloud our perception of the present moment. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by bringing our attention back to the here and now, allowing us to experience life with greater clarity and peace. A simple yet profound way to practice mindfulness is through breath awareness, anapanasati. By focusing on each inhale and exhale, we train the mind to stay present. Whenever we notice negative thoughts arising, self-doubt, anger, or worry, we can gently return our focus to the breath, preventing these thoughts from taking control. Another powerful tool is observing thoughts without attachment. The Buddha compared the mind to a vast sky and thoughts to passing clouds. If we learn to watch them come and go without identifying with them, we free ourselves from their influence. Instead of thinking, "I am anxious," we observe, "Anxiety is arising." This shift reduces the power of negative emotions and creates space for positivity. Mindfulness also helps us develop gratitude and appreciation for the present moment. Often we take simple joys for granted: a meal, a conversation, the warmth of the sun. But when we bring full awareness to these experiences, we cultivate a natural sense of contentment. The more we practice noticing the good in our lives, the more our mind becomes attuned to positivity. One of the most transformative aspects of mindfulness is its ability to disrupt automatic negative thinking. When a challenging situation arises, instead of reacting impulsively, we pause, take a deep breath, and observe our emotions. This pause gives us the freedom to choose a response rooted in wisdom rather than fear. Buddhist teachings remind us that what we focus on grows. If we constantly feed thoughts of anger, envy, or despair, they become stronger. But if we nurture thoughts of kindness, patience, and gratitude, they flourish. Mindfulness is the practice that allows us to make this shift consciously, turning our minds into allies rather than enemies. By cultivating mindfulness daily, whether through meditation, mindful walking, or simply paying attention to our thoughts, we lay the foundation for a positive, resilient, and peaceful mindset. It's not about forcing positivity, but about seeing life with clarity and choosing thoughts that lead to joy. The role of compassion and loving kindness. True positive thinking in Buddhism isn't just about individual happiness. It's about cultivating a mind that radiates kindness and compassion. A positive mindset, in the Buddhist sense, is deeply intertwined with metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion. These qualities transform not only our own mental state, but also the way we interact with the world. Loving kindness is the practice of wishing well for all beings, including ourselves. It's a powerful antidote to negativity, because it replaces resentment, anger, and judgment with warmth and goodwill. The Buddha taught that a mind filled with loving kindness is like a lamp. It shines on everyone without discrimination. When we cultivate metta, we naturally develop a more positive outlook because our heart is free from hostility. Compassion, on the other hand, is the ability to see suffering and respond with care. Many people think that compassion means carrying the burdens of others, but in Buddhism, it's about recognizing suffering without being overwhelmed by it. True compassion arises from wisdom. It sees suffering clearly and responds with kindness instead of despair. One of the most transformative Buddhist practices is the Metta Bhavana, loving kindness meditation. This meditation involves silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be free from suffering, may all beings be happy." We start with ourselves, then extend these wishes to loved ones, neutral people, and even those who have hurt us. Over time, this practice rewires the brain, making kindness our natural response instead of negativity. Studies in neuroscience confirm that regular metta meditation increases positive emotions, reduces stress, and enhances overall well-being. Compassion also plays a crucial role in overcoming negative self-talk. Many of us are harsher on ourselves than we would ever be on others. The Buddhist path teaches us that just as we wish happiness for others, we must also extend kindness to ourselves. Self-compassion isn't self-indulgence, it's the foundation of a stable, positive mind. When we forgive our own mistakes and treat ourselves with gentleness, we create the emotional space needed for growth and joy. The Dalai Lama once said, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion." This highlights a crucial truth. A positive life is not about selfish pleasure, but about being connected to others with a heart full of kindness. When we focus on bringing happiness to others, we naturally cultivate happiness within ourselves. The power of compassion is that it dissolves barriers between self and others. When we see all beings as interconnected, envy and resentment fade away. Instead of feeling threatened by others' success, we rejoice in it. Instead of reacting to others' negativity with anger, we meet it with understanding. This shift creates a life filled with genuine positivity, not forced optimism, but deep, lasting joy. By making compassion and loving kindness daily practices, we transform not only our mindset, but the world around us. A mind full of metta is a mind at peace, and from this peace arises the unshakable positivity that Buddhism teaches, transforming negative thoughts and emotions. Negative thoughts and emotions are part of being human, but Buddhism teaches that we are not slaves to them. Instead of suppressing, denying, or being overwhelmed by negativity, we can learn to transform it. The key is awareness, acceptance, and skillful response. The first step is recognizing that thoughts are not reality. Often we take our thoughts too seriously, believing everything our mind tells us. But Buddhism reminds us that thoughts are just passing mental events, like clouds in the sky. They come and go. They do not define us. When we understand this, we can observe negative thoughts without being consumed by them. One powerful Buddhist practice for transforming negativity is mindful observation, vipassana meditation. Instead of fighting a negative emotion, we sit with it, notice it, and investigate its nature. If we feel anger, we ask, "Where do I feel this in my body? What thoughts are fueling it? Is it permanent?" When we look deeply, we realize that emotions rise and fall. They are not as solid or overwhelming as they seem. Another technique is the practice of non-attachment. Much of our suffering comes from clinging to thoughts and emotions as if they were absolute. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent, including our mental states. When we stop identifying with our emotions, "I am sad," and instead observe them, sadness is arising. We create distance and freedom. Compassion also plays a crucial role in transforming negativity. Often, negative emotions like anger or resentment stem from pain. Instead of reacting with more anger, we can bring self-compassion into the moment. We remind ourselves that suffering is universal and that all beings experience pain. This shift softens our hearts and allows us to move from reaction to understanding. Gratitude is another powerful antidote. When the mind is stuck in negativity, we can consciously redirect it toward appreciation. A simple practice is to list 3 things we are grateful for each morning. Over time, this rewires the brain to focus on the positive rather than the negative. Another Buddhist method for transforming negativity is Tonglen meditation, a Tibetan practice of giving and taking. In this meditation, we visualize ourselves breathing in the suffering of others and breathing out relief, kindness, and peace. This practice not only reduces our own negativity, but also strengthens our connection with others. Finally, we must remember that negativity weakens when we stop feeding it. If we constantly dwell on resentments, replay past hurts, or engage in negative self-talk, we strengthen these patterns. But if we cultivate positive emotions through meditation, acts of kindness, and mindful awareness, negative thoughts naturally lose their grip. Transforming negative emotions is not about suppressing them, but learning to meet them with awareness and wisdom. Through mindfulness, compassion, and conscious redirection, we develop a mind that is resilient, peaceful, and full of positivity. The practice of rejoicing in others' happiness, mudita, in a world where competition and comparison are common, the Buddhist practice of mudita, or sympathetic joy, offers a revolutionary way to cultivate a positive mindset. Instead of feeling envy or resentment when others succeed, we learn to genuinely rejoice in their happiness. This not only strengthens our relationships, but also brings us deep inner peace. Many of us have experienced the sting of comparison, seeing someone else achieve something we desire and feeling inadequate or envious. Buddhism teaches that this mindset creates unnecessary suffering. When we are caught in jealousy, we reinforce a sense of separation and lack, which only fuels negativity. But when we cultivate mudita, we shift from scarcity to abundance, recognizing that another person's happiness does not diminish our own. The Buddha described mudita as one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, or sublime states, alongside loving kindness, metta, compassion, karuna, and equanimity, upekkha. Just as we practice compassion for those who suffer, we can train ourselves to feel genuine joy for those who thrive. This creates a positive cycle. The more we celebrate others' happiness, the more joy we experience ourselves. A simple but powerful way to develop mudita is through intentional gratitude for others' success. Whenever we notice jealousy arising, we can shift our focus by silently wishing the other person well. May they continue to experience joy and success. May their happiness inspire others. May I find my own unique path to fulfillment. By making this a habit, we rewire our minds to respond with joy instead of envy. Over time, this becomes natural, and we begin to see the world with a heart that is open rather than threatened. Another technique is the mudita meditation, where we visualize a friend, family member, or even a stranger experiencing happiness and allow ourselves to feel their joy as if it were our own. This meditation helps dissolve feelings of competition and creates a deep sense of interconnectedness. Mudita also teaches us an essential truth. Happiness multiplies when it is shared. Have you ever noticed that celebrating a loved one's success brings you joy as well? This is because joy is not a limited resource. When we embrace mudita, we free ourselves from the toxic cycle of comparison and cultivate a mindset where happiness is abundant and shared. At its core, mudita is about letting go of the illusion of separation. Instead of seeing life as a competition, we recognize that we are all part of the same human experience. Someone else's success does not take away from our own. It is simply another expression of life's beauty. By practicing mudita daily through meditation, mindful reflection, and conscious celebration of others, we shift from scarcity to abundance, resentment to joy, and competition to connection. This is one of the greatest secrets of a truly positive and fulfilling life. Embracing impermanence to enhance positivity. One of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is impermanence, anicca, the understanding that everything in life is constantly changing. At first, this may seem unsettling. We often seek stability, clinging to relationships, possessions, or even emotions, hoping they will last forever. But Buddhism teaches that embracing impermanence is the key to true peace and positivity. When we resist change, we create suffering. We become attached to people, experiences, and even identities, fearing their loss. But when we accept that everything is in flux, we stop struggling against the natural flow of life. Instead of fearing change, we learn to ride its waves with grace. A simple example of impermanence is nature. No season lasts forever. No flower stays in bloom indefinitely. The same is true for our emotions, thoughts, and circumstances. When we understand this, we stop over-identifying with temporary feelings. If we are sad today, we remember that sadness, like the seasons, will pass. This shift allows us to navigate life's ups and downs with a more balanced and positive mindset. Impermanence also teaches us to cherish the present moment. Because nothing lasts forever, every experience is precious. Instead of rushing through life, we learn to pause and appreciate what is here now. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of the sun, the taste of a meal. This awareness naturally fosters gratitude and joy. One of the greatest sources of suffering is clinging to things that are bound to change. A job, a relationship, youth, status. The Buddha compared this to trying to grasp water in our hands. The tighter we hold, the faster it slips away. But if we hold life gently, knowing that everything is temporary, we find freedom and lightness. A powerful Buddhist practice to embrace impermanence is reflection on change. Each day we remind ourselves everything is temporary, both joy and sorrow. Every experience is an opportunity to grow. Because life is fleeting, I will live fully today. By internalizing these truths, we cultivate a deep sense of peace and acceptance. Instead of fearing endings, we appreciate beginnings. Instead of clinging, we learn to flow. This shift in perspective leads to a more positive, resilient, and joyful life. Impermanence also reminds us to let go of grudges and regrets. If everything is constantly changing, why hold on to past pain? When we recognize that both we and others are in a state of transformation, forgiveness comes more easily. We stop defining ourselves by past mistakes and allow room for growth. Ultimately, embracing impermanence doesn't lead to despair. It leads to freedom. When we stop fearing change, we open ourselves to new possibilities, deeper gratitude, and an unshakable inner peace. Integrating positive thinking into daily life. Understanding the power of positive thinking in Buddhism is one thing, but applying it in daily life is where true transformation happens. Buddhism teaches that real change comes from consistent practice, not just intellectual understanding. To fully integrate positivity into our lives, we must train our minds daily, just as we would train a muscle. One of the most effective ways to do this is through mindful intention setting. Each morning before starting the day, we can pause and set a positive intention. Today, I will respond with kindness instead of frustration. I will focus on what I am grateful for rather than what is missing. I will see challenges as opportunities for growth. By consciously directing our thoughts, we train our minds to look for the positive instead of defaulting to negativity. Another key practice is awareness of speech and thoughts. Words have immense power. They shape not only our own reality, but also the experiences of those around us. The Buddha taught right speech, which means speaking with kindness, truthfulness, and encouragement. If we make it a habit to avoid gossip, complaints, and harsh words, we naturally cultivate a more positive environment for ourselves and others. Meditation remains one of the most powerful tools for reinforcing positivity. A simple practice is loving-kindness meditation, Metta, where we send good wishes to ourselves and others. Even just 5 minutes a day can shift our mindset over time. Another useful technique is gratitude meditation, where we reflect on 3 things we appreciate each day. This trains the mind to focus on abundance rather than lack. We can also integrate positivity into daily life through acts of kindness. Buddhism teaches that selfless giving, dana, brings deep joy. Simple acts like helping a colleague, showing appreciation, or offering a smile create a ripple of positivity. And when we give happiness, we also receive happiness. Mindfulness during the day is important. Instead of rushing through life on autopilot, we can pause and take a breath before reacting. Whether we're stuck in traffic, facing a tough conversation, or feeling overwhelmed, we can return to the present moment and choose a wise, positive response instead of a reactive one. In the end, it's important to practice self-compassion. No one can stay positive all the time, and Buddhism never tells us to ignore negative emotions. Instead, we notice them, understand that they are temporary, and gently bring ourselves back into balance. If we make a mistake, we don't hold on to it, we simply begin again. By making these small but meaningful changes, setting intentions, practicing mindfulness, speaking kindly, showing gratitude, and embracing self-compassion, we don't just think positively, we live positively. This is the heart of Buddhism. Real happiness does not come from outside events, but from how we train our minds to see the world. Your mind, your reality, the strength of positive thinking in Buddhism. Everything we have explored on this journey comes down to one simple truth. Your mind shapes your reality. We cannot control every situation, and we cannot stop difficulties, losses, or unexpected changes. But what we can control is how we understand, respond to, and grow from these moments. In Buddhism, positive thinking is not about forcing happiness or ignoring struggles. It is a deep and mindful practice of training the mind to see reality clearly, to release suffering, and to build a sense of peace and happiness that does not depend on outside circumstances. Throughout this video, we have seen how mindfulness helps us step out of autopilot, allowing us to notice our thoughts before they grow into overwhelming emotions. We have explored the power of compassion and loving kindness, not only as ways to deepen relationships, but as tools to free ourselves from resentment and negativity. We have understood that negative thoughts are not enemies to fight. They are simply passing clouds in the wide sky of our mind. And when we learn to watch them without holding on to them, we stop letting them control us. We have realized that envy and comparison only slow us down, while the practice of mudita, rejoicing in others' happiness, connects us to abundance instead of scarcity. And perhaps the most life-changing understanding of all, everything changes. Life is always moving, and when we stop resisting impermanence, we find a peace that is not shaken by every unexpected change. When we accept that nothing lasts forever, we learn to value each moment and live with a lighter heart, but simply knowing this is not enough. Knowledge without practice does not create real change. If we want these teachings to truly shape our lives, we must train our minds every day. Just as the body grows stronger with exercise, the mind becomes more resilient through the steady practice of healthy habits. Small actions can create big changes. Take a few moments each day to notice your thoughts without reacting right away. Practice gratitude by focusing on what you have instead of what is missing. Choose kind words for yourself and for others. Take a deep breath before responding to any challenge. And most importantly, remember that each day is a new chance to train your mind and choose peace over suffering. If this content has inspired you or given you something to think about, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here, we continue exploring how to use Buddhist wisdom and other life-changing practices in everyday life. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which of these teachings touched you the most? Which one will you start using in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments, because exchanging ideas and experiences is one of the best ways for us to grow together. Transformation begins in the mind, and the choice to start is in your hands. See you in the next video.